it actually changes both my physical sensations, but also my brain, the way that my brain operates thinking about it.
Hi, welcome. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Soph.
This is wonderful.
Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Welcome to everybody. This is Be.Play.Love. Why did we call the show Be.Play.Love?
Oh, one, I love to be with you. When I'm with you, I play more. And from playing, I find more to love, even among the things that seem completely unlovable.
Oh, I love that. It's funny, when I first met you, that was one of my very first experiences. You seemed to love. You love the food, you love the friends, you love there was just such like a child a little bit, like a kind of a quality of a childlike thing. That was really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I think some of that comes from my not getting to be a child when I was a child. And being very serious and, developing all of those habits so that I could get attention. And now finding how much fun it is to love, which is basically to be in the same space with.
Tell me more about that. To love is to be in the same space with? Tell me more.
Yeah. So to love something is like when I'm with you, I feel like I can kind of jostle you, or we can toss back and forth, or I can just be witnessing whatever is going on for you. And that being with is what I mean by love. Because we usually think of love as I have to do something for somebody or I have to change something. But really, what mostly people want is just to have somebody be with them and just, here you are. And I can feel that. I can sense that. I can see you. And that giving and receiving of attention to me is the same as love.
Why? It's funny because described like this, it sounds like very simple. And yet I experience people not having such an easy time doing that. Why is it difficult to do that? Like, it sounds like I just be there, right?
I've noticed the same thing, that people just have a hard time doing this simple thing. Because I think we're from the time we come in, people are telling us in order to be lovable, we have to be different. We have to do something different. We have to fit in. We have to be quieter or thinner or smarter or just not so loud. And that constant adjustment makes us feel like who we are is not lovable.
Wow. How do we, okay, that really, it resonates with me from a place of, I remember experiencing, I'm hungry. This is not the right time. Now you should eat. Now I'm not hungry. And yet I should be eat. Like I was forced to do things that were very unnatural to me. So I relate to what you just said. That makes sense.
Yeah. And that we could go into the whole food business, food and love, is a whole subject of its own. But, like I can remember if I didn't eat what was in front of me, it meant that I didn't love my mother.
Yes.
So that, yes. And so I think all of us have those kinds of inner dialogues that go on that actually just prevent us from that very simple being together. What one of my professors used to call, he would say, merchants in the old days, they would be on their donkeys and they would be haggling about who was going to get the best price. But underneath them, they were sitting on their donkeys and their donkeys were nuzzling. So it's what he called donkey. That basically people love the idea of just being able to be themselves in the presence of somebody else. And so that's, when I really learned that was possible, that's really informed my life for decades. And it's one of the things I love about being with you is that
we can nuzzle. You like that we nuzzle?
I like that we nuzzle, and we can nuzzle energetically, even if we're not in the same space with each other.
Yeah. It's interesting because as you're saying that, I'm wondering, was it easy for us as children and we were yanked out of it? Like, was it just a natural, I mean, you see children, they will nuzzle and they will just naturally gravitate. So it was made like forced out of us a bit, huh?
Well, I was remembering, like when I see kids, they're doing what I call bodifying. They're responding to life with their whole bodies. And
Yeah.
I think over as we're growing up, we actually get less and less in our bodies. I was remembering when I first went to school, where one of the first things we had to do was line up. And then we
Great
had to,
line.
yeah, what's a line and how do I stand in it? And so, where is my place in line?
Mm.
And then we had to take somebody's hand, so, and that was sort of weird. And then we had to sit in desks and not move and try to learn something. So, I think over a period of years that we get all of our liveliness just kind of trained out of us. And so
Stiffer.
I think for me, that's one of the reasons for having play as part of our intention is that we now know that we learn more effectively by playing. Play is more effective than work. We're always talking about, well, I need to work on this. But actually, if we play with things, even play with issues, it's much more effective than working on them. And there's a bunch of research on that now, which is very heartening.
So when you say play with an issue, like I know when I feel pain, like issues that I'm talking deeper stuff, yeah, like issues that
Sure.
are painful. How do I play with what's feeling hurtful? Like what do I do when I feel in pain? Like play is not
Well,
where I want to go naturally.
Well, one of the things that just was coming to me is that if I'm experiencing something painful, I'm generally experiencing it somewhere in my body. And I can do something that we call matching, which is I can let my hands paint or sculpt that sensation that I'm having inside. And when I give my attention to it and I'm actually being an artist with it, I'm thinking of it as clay or it's very tangible. And I let myself start just how is this? And I paint the landscape of that. It actually changes both my physical sensations, but also my brain, the way that my brain operates thinking about it. And I've had people disappear headaches and open up to the deeper, oh, this is really about my loss, of my brother's love when I was in junior high, or the actual root of the thing that's stuck in our bodies breaks loose when we play with it. Whereas when we focus on it and go, what's wrong and what do I need to do to work on it, it just drives it more deeply into us.
So the playing is actually you're not necessarily feeling it in the moment, but you're inviting it. Like by inviting it, you shift even the way you relate to it somewhat.
Yeah, that's a good. When you invite it, I love the word invite, and I got kind of,
I saw. I
involved
was
in
like,
the word
go there.
invite. No, because that's part of what I experience about you, Soph, is that your presence is an invitation, and so how I experience that is I can take a breath. I can pause for a minute and see what's really going on. I don't have to rush. And that play to me is letting things move around with the intention of just seeing what's going to happen.
Mm.
Whereas with work, we always have, well, we need to do this, and then
There's
we
an
need to do
outcome.
this, and then,
There's like
yeah.
a deliverable. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also sort of ABC, rather, and play is so open-ended. And what it does is open our own ability to explore, to discover, rather than repeating. See, most of our training is about repeating. So
Mm.
be polite, don't make too much noise, wait for your turn. All of those things are about making you less and less spontaneous.
Yes.
So the payoff is you get to fit in sort of.
Yeah.
But what it costs you is that feeling of joy and aliveness and discovery that you get through play.
And also the giving yourself, like when you describe loving someone, being with someone is receiving their attention to some of it. But it sounds like when you identify an issue or you feel like there is an issue, it sounds like you're giving attention to yourself, like you're turning the love within, which I really relate
Yes.
as being also very transformational.
was so transformational. I really appreciate you saying that, because most of us are trained to take our attention out. So, to see how other people are doing, it's better to give than receive. And so to actually be giving that rich, yummy, loving attention to you, it's like, excuse me.
Yeah.
I know that's
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Yeah. That we're supposed to be just sort of always kind of put together.
Yes, no, please don't do that. I'm doing that right now.
Erase.
It is funny how even watching you do it, when you speak of the where we going, there's just this freedom and space. And when you're describing this other thing, I feel it in my bones. It's like this, like, oh, I just want to shrink in a very small box.
And so I think part of my intention in us playing together more with whoever wants to come play with this is that we learn that discovery is so much richer than repeating, particularly the adrenaline addiction of having to get a drama and having to focus on what's wrong and have a problem that we have to solve. And what I've, especially during these last few years, what's become really clear to me is that giving and receiving attention, being available for what's wanting to happen, that's the best. It's just the best. And because I have this sense of, this nourishment, and the nourishment of connection, I think is just so, so important right now. Not the nourishment of doing and and getting stuff accomplished, because most of us already know how to do that and we're trained to do that, but most of us are not given any permission or any experience in being alive, getting present, connecting, and then seeing what wants to happen. It's what I call presence, connect, play. And I've been exploring this over the last few years, and it's really become sort of the heartbeat of my days, so that when I go out into the world, like even at the grocery store, so I'm bringing my things and, I'm even going down the aisles, and there's an opportunity in each interaction for presence, hello, connection, and then that little thing that may want to happen, like, oh, I'm not sure that one. You think that one's ripe? Do you think that avocado is ripe? So there's a little interaction that allows us all to notice that we're connected as humans.
And that we matter. Like even asking someone at the store, do you think this, like even just the invitation to give their opinion is already, like, most people don't even notice people that way. And I know it's funny because as you were talking, you already did it 4 times, acknowledging beautiful things about me and about, I've seen you, that's how you share, like you see what's beautiful about people, which I think is also like immediately my bones are just like, oh, that's so nice, because criticism is often how people relate to one another, and we notice what's wrong and we get all. But when in a relationship, you're able to see something that's special and it's genuine. Like I've never heard you say it in a way that's like, oh, she's just giving a compliment to connect.
Right. She's going through the motions.
Oh.
So yeah, because it's actually coming from what I'm experiencing in the moment. So one of the things I've discovered that's just been so wonderful for me, and I learned a lot of it from my husband, Gay, was that he would tune into something and then he would just open his mouth and share what he was experiencing. And he didn't rehearse it and I could hear the discovery in his voice. And I found that so interesting, that to be able to not just regurgitate something, but to actually be discovering in the moment. So we have the ability to create all the time from whatever is going on. And that creation then leads to more and more ability to choose, I think, in our moment to moment life, that because I'm here and I'm actually interacting with what's going on, not my idea of what's going on, but my whole body experience of what's going on.
Which is beautiful because as you're talking, I can tell that you're listening to what I'm saying, and I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm not, oh, I should remember to ask her that or say that, or like I think
Right.
it requires a trust in each other. Like I feel like if I were to be completely silent and had nothing to say, you would love me in that. Like I don't
I
feel like I
would
have
love
to
you in that.
deliver or perform for you in a conversation. So I trust that, but I'm also trusting that if there was something interesting to be said, it would be there. Like to, I don't need to prepare it. Maybe as
Yes.
you said earlier, like there's no need to rehearse.
There's no need to
It's there.
rehearse. And also, there's no need to judge yourself. I think many of us have a perfectionist filter.
Yeah.
So, first of all, what's wrong? And then if I can fix that, then maybe I can move toward being perfect, but I'm not really lovable unless I reach that being perfect.
Oh, how painful.
And so many of us have lived in that for so many years. And the freedom that I experience of what can I discover here? What can I share? How can I really affirm the person who's in front of me? This is it. This is really like instead of waiting for something else to happen,
There is
the
no
person who's
something
in
else.
front of
There's just
me,
this moment right now. That's it.
that's the playground.
Yeah, that's it. Mm. I remember when I first met Gay, I was very much into, I don't think I ever had a conversation. I would, because I knew where I was going always. Like I would start the conversation with like, we need to get there. That's the point
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
making. And often,
Topic. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, and it's like, I know what I want to put. I mean, it's not so deliberate maybe, but I kind of want to convince you a little bit and bring you along with my point of view. And I remember Gay just teaching me this, like start you, and also, by the way, being French, most sentences starts with the problem is. Like it's very
Ah,
difficult to start a sentence in French when you want to explain what's happening that is not the problem is. But I
ah,
remember when Gay shared with me this, like, I wonder. I
just
wonder.
that.
Just
Ah,
that, just the shift of like, instead of like, what is the problem, which by
yeah.
definition makes you focus on the problem, but just the wonder, like, I'm curious, I'm truly curious, like, what is happening? Why am I feeling tense? Why am I feeling a little lonely in
Yeah.
this moment? But that can only come out if I approach it with this like acceptance or agreeing that I'm okay with all of it, because that is part of, I think, what happens is people sometimes don't feel that they're allowed to feel what they're feeling.
Oh, I think that's very, very, very common. And I want to just underline what you were noticing about what Gay said was that the first, I'm sure he paused and took a breath.
Yes.
And then the
Mm.
is so reliable. You could use it right now to shift into your wonder brain. The it's one of our classics of creating a through a whole out breath actually shifts you into wonder. And so anything you say after that is from a different state of consciousness. It's not from the problem solving brain. It's really using your whole brain, including your body brain. And so just that, if you're listening and watching today and you want to practice one thing, this would be a great one is to, hmm, I wonder. And then the thing that you're wondering about.
Mhm.
And just notice how that shifts possibilities for you.
And it sounds like I get access to more, as you're saying, the whole of me has more to offer. Like, even if I was looking for a solution, this approach of, I wonder, I access things that I can't find if I'm just trying to, like, it's almost like my brain shuts itself off when I go at it from the problem is versus the curiosity.
Well, you get the whole left brain, right brain,
Mm.
which may or may not be totally accurate. But I do think we have a creative brain and more linear analytical brain. And some of us favor more, like I came from a family of three engineers and an artist.
Mm.
so so
I wonder.
heavily loaded on the analytical side. And then artistry can make its way into engineering, and engineering and precision and process can make its way into artistry. And the idea is to have them be able to dance together. But our culture favors analytical,
Mm.
ABC, causality. And I think that a lot of that is just the fear of being in the unknown
Mm.
and inventing something, and fear of spontaneity, and just sort of fear in general.
What do
That
you think the fear is? Like, what if there's nothing? Like, what if I go to find something and I don't find anything? Do you think?
I think that the fear is basically, when I'm in fear, I can't think.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't even think about what I'm scared about because I can't think. And
Mm-hmm.
so fear then puts us into reactivity,
Mm-hmm.
where we're going to look for whatever is the safest thing to do. So it might be to become invisible, to freeze. It might be to get smaller and kind of faint a little bit. It might be to get, kind of fighty, like, you can't push
Yeah.
me around, but it's not really you. So all of the exploration that we do around turning fear into presence is to allow all of that fear juice to become available, to actually be more aliveness for you rather than the constriction of fear.
What do you think what you just said is very helpful. Like, that's what my body does, or my reaction is when I feel fear. But even what's the word? What's the word? Before that, pre that, what am I even like? Why is my response to life fear? Like, why? I mean, not mine, actually. I diligently work to not, but I think a lot of people do go there, like as almost a default. But what are we afraid of? Like, what's at the heart of that?
Well, I think what we are afraid of, it gets us into left brain. So if I can just figure out what it is I'm afraid of, that's going to solve it. But what I found is that doesn't solve it, because I'm asking it from fear. And so when I am in fear, two things happen. One, I can't think. And the other is I feel completely by myself.
Isolate.
And I'm not connected. I'm not able to feel the nourishment of feeling connected to other humans. And so I feel by myself, and I feel, and it can be very overwhelming to be in that fear. And we've been, for many, many years now, the culture has promoted fear because it makes people more like, what am I going to do to be safe?
Yeah.
So when I'm in fear, what comes up is I need to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in creativity or I'm in presence, then the possibility of generating play happens. But from within fear, I'm really looking for safety. And so what I've found is that when I'm in fear, or other people in my presence are in fear, that as I shift into my own experience of being able to be here, with breath, with the things I call fear melters, which we can talk about and show people actually later, then when I shift into presence, suddenly, I can locate myself. I create safety by being here.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm located, I know here I am. I can feel my breath. I've shifted my breath from to relaxed breathing. Then I have choice. But when I'm in fear, I really don't have any choice. And that's part of why there's so much chaos going on right now, because people are looking for, where's the safety? Where's my safety?
Yeah. Are you saying almost all the way that maybe what we're afraid of doesn't matter? Like, once the quality is ignited?
Yeah, because how many times have you heard people say, well, there's nothing to be scared of?
Well, yeah, if I'm scared, it doesn't help me.
Does that help? No, it doesn't help at all. Or you're going to be okay. It's okay. But the person is not okay and they don't feel okay. So you're basically lying to them.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we are taught, is like, it's okay. Don't be scared.
Yeah.
Where then, I can feel that you're scared.
Mm.
So here I can meet you in your fear from my presence, and I can kind of help you jumpstart your own, your own ability to basically just get some movement in your body and some breath in your body. And then you go, here I am. Whew. And then whatever it is that you're scared of, you can meet it, you can respond to it. But if I'm stuck in fear, I'm just going to I'm either going to fight, I'm going to run out of here, I'm going to, or I'm going to just collapse. And then go, you handle it, you take care of it, I gotta.
And then complete crisis and drama and that whole energy. Yeah. What you're describing, it's almost like when you meet someone that's in fear, instead of matching that, you staying in your state of spaciousness, you allow them to come and be out of their own instead of the opposite. I feel like the opposite happens in a lot of dynamics where you arrive with your joyful, happy, whatever moment you're having, and the other person's like, "Rrr," and off you go. And somehow it's like something they'll do or something they'll say. Or do you think it's a matter of then really approaching it as a state of consciousness? It's really to be like, oh wow, like I was really joyful when I walked in the room. What just happened?
Exactly. It's like you stole my joy.
Well, I let you stole my joy.
Exactly. I let you. Yeah, and that. I think a lot of people also, particularly in relationship, think if you're feeling bad, I can't feel good. So if you're upset, I have to kind of minimize my joy.
Oh, why do we do that?
And so that the other person won't feel disturbed, or I think it's a control issue. You know, like I'm in charge of how we feel here. So I can remember with Gay early in our relationship, because I'm very sensitive to other people's feelings, and if he were upset, then I would be trying to fix it over here, rather than if I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling. I can remember Gay saying, "I'm just sharing with what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm experiencing. You're experiencing this, and I'm experiencing this. Like you're experiencing some worry, and I'm experiencing some peacefulness, and they can both go on at the same time."
Oh.
So presence makes a bigger corral, and makes a bigger meadow where you can experience what you're experiencing, and I can be feeling and sensing what I'm sensing. And through our willingness to share, it's really a vibrational kind of experience. I was remembering when you were first talking and making your hands go like this. One of the first books that I read when I met Gay was Thaddeus Gollis's The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, which is a classic in the field. I know, The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, which, I mean, what a better title. Yeah. And one of the things he says is that it's the universe, we're all equals, and the universe is our relationship with each other. We're creating the universe by our relationships with each other. And that when you have a different vibration, which is what we're just talking about, that there are only three choices. You get pulled down, the other person comes to your level of vibration, or you split. And I see that, I imagine you do too, all the time.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, one of the things I've been looking into with my relationship is I don't have to be affected. It's like, wow, that's interesting. I've not named it so clearly, but let's say my partner's upset and I don't want to be around that, but I also I'm not in charge of changing it. So I will say, well, it sounds like we're in a different desire right now. And I will kind of remove, like I've not done that before. Like I will kind of remove myself more. Is that something where you think I'm avoiding what's happening? Because I don't want to change what he's experiencing, nor do I want to be around someone who's like, acting grumpy for too long.
Right. Yeah, you don't.
Is it fleeing that I walk away versus?
So I think it would be fleeing if you didn't have the conversation.
I would just. It was just like.
Yeah. And I think that happens a lot in relationships where there's something that happens where you're on a different level with each other. And instead of navigating your way through that, people split. And then they feel separate, and then they have to kind of repair what's going on. And I think what can help bridge that is the acknowledgement of what I'm actually experiencing right now in this moment, like at a sensory level. Like right now, I feel a little pinched, or I mean, I'm just giving a demonstration. So I'm
Yeah,
feeling
sure.
a little pinched, and I'm having the thought of I don't quite know what's going on. I feel a little fearful. Even just saying that, you see, locates me. I go, oh, okay. I am actually experiencing something. I'm not floating around in space in this of fear. I'm actually going, oh, okay. I can feel some tension, feel a little heat, or I feel just kind of blank. I don't actually know what's going on, and that's kind of freaking me out a little bit. But as I'm noticing and speaking, I connect with myself.
And it sounds like you're dealing with your side. It sounds like none of it is you seem upset or you are
Right. If
grumpy.
you would stop, yeah.
I mean, without even being prompted to do so, like every sentence you spoke were on your side, like the side of the one who's just, experiencing. And maybe that invites the other person to speak of what they're experiencing, but that's not even the purpose. Like the way you did it, I was like, there's nothing wrong with what she said. Like, if I was the one causing you upset.
Well, and what that tends to do is to diminish arguments,
I'm
because
sure.
arguments are often about who's right and whose version of reality are we going to accept. But when I actually speak, this is what we call the unarguable truth.
Oh, yeah.
Which I now call speaking from discovery, because it's not about the truth. It's really about opening to the flow of life and like riding the waves there. I know I was just remembering the movie Finding Nemo, where
Yeah.
the turtles are in the, they're in the
Yeah.
groove,
They're
yeah, they're in the flow. And when I'm in the flow, when you're in the flow, oh, it's just delicious, even if it's a big ride, if you're,
Sure.
there's a lot going on. But when I'm in the flow, that's, I think, one of the most delicious experiences that's possible to have on the planet.
Well, as we're wrapping up this episode, so you've spoken of like, I love this idea of the flow. And I do see that if you're in the flow and I'm in the flow, there is nothing, like we're invincible in some way, right? There is a certain evidence that everything is okay, everything's right, even if we are riding a hard, wave at times. So I'm curious, like going to the body, clearly, also speaking from a place of this is my side, this is what I'm experiencing over here. Sounds like the breath you're speaking of seems
Yes, of letting yourself just take 2 or 3 relaxed, easy breaths. And that may, when you first start, it may be like, so like giving yourself enough. Yeah. Because like on television shows now, they've got the whole breath thing, so on drama, someone will say, well, just take a breath.
Mm.
But they're actually
people do it, and it's like, no, let me teach you how to take a breath. That's not
exactly. Yeah, because they think one breath will do it. One breath doesn't do it. You got to have 3 to 8 breaths.
Okay.
To really make a shift. But it does work if you let yourself just find a connection. So the in breath, just rolling on over into the out breath. And then, and then letting the in breath roll on over into the out breath. And with your third one, go ahead and do a third one and just notice. See, when I do the 3 breaths, even though I practice this all the time, when I do the 3 breaths, there's an even more, like I felt some warmth, kind of a little blooming quality. And also I could feel my sits bones. So I could feel, oh
yeah, you dropped. I
dropped. Yeah. And I go,
Yeah.
And that's useful regardless of what the other person is doing. But if I'm doing this in the presence of somebody else who is anxious or caught in fear, it actually translates, it osmoses. People can get it directly.
That sounds like such an inexpensive, very easy to travel with. We have our breath with us, right, at all times. Like
you don't have to get any special equipment, or
that's why they like the world is wanting us to consume these other things, and these other gizmos. When there it is, just right here. I have it with me.
Right here, right here. And to me, that's a great joy to be able to access to our own body intelligence and our own relational intelligence, we can then just keep presencing, connecting, and then collaborating, playing, no matter what else is going on, whether it's something we want to solve or it's something we want to generate.
Well, I feel like we just experienced it together. Yeah. So if you've been listening to this, clearly this is what's in the room. So play with that and, send us a note if you'd like us to share about what you've experienced as well. Thank you so much for this conversation. Let's have others.
Let's have more. Let's have more. Thank you. And thanks, everybody.